Hello there. So this is my, well, maybe not my first, but one of my first videos outside of WordPress.com, but I wanted to keep these going. I think it's a good habit to just look at different products and different things that are coming out and kind of explore them and share what they're all about. So WP Engine recently launched a block theme for WordPress called Frost, and it had been on my list to check it out, and I saw a video last night of some of the styles that are built into it. So I wanted to do that today. I'm going to start with just kind of going through the site that shows you what it looks like, some of the patterns and things that come with it, and then I'm going to show you what my site looks like, and then we're going to nuke my site and switch this theme over and then see how long it takes me to rebuild it with some of the patterns and things that they already have in there, and play around with the styles a little bit. If that goes well, after that we might get out maybe local and maybe Sublime and edit some of the style sheets and create our own color schemes and things like that. But for now, I'm just going to play around with this theme. So let's showcase it first. Let's see what they're kind of presenting on their site, and then I'll show you what my site looks like before we activate it, and we'll dive into that. Tend to use my personal sites for experimentation. I don't remember the name of this theme right now, but it's got some nice font and design styles to it. My screen is probably looking real wide because I'm on a bigger monitor. We can shrink it down so things don't look as far apart, but ultimately it's kind of the same general style, right? There's a lot of black and white to it. I put a duotone on this kind of blog post thing, and I've got a gallery up here. I've got like a resume style page in here, and I've got a blog that you can get to. That's pretty blank right now and a lot of open space. And this was actually the result of a different theme switch that I had done previously, and I didn't really come back to put a ton of time into it. So what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to switch recording software so you can follow along with kind of the interactions and the theme a little bit closer, and then we're going to switch the theme and rebuild a lot of the pages that I have in here and see what the site looks like when we're done. Alright, so I got my theme switched over to Frost. And I think I got most little styling things ironed out. It took me a few hours overall to go through this. I created some unique patterns that weren't packaged in there. I used some of the patterns that were in the theme itself, and I played around with some of them and kind of morphed them to my needs. So I used a lot of what was there. I kind of used this, I don't know what it's called, shadow box border on a lot of elements across the site. You can see it on my buttons and things like that too. This is a simple personal site. There's only 3 pages plus a blog here. So this is the home page. This is where I landed on it. Pretty basic. There's a work with me page. I really liked this pattern right here. I used it for what I look for when people are asking me about consulting opportunities or board member opportunities or whatever, what kind of things are worth my time, because I'm generally pretty protective of my time. Things that I help in terms of results that I've driven and kind of proven, and I'll play around with some of this later too. And then the different kind of types of roles and things I'd want. So these are patterns that were built in, which were really nice. It was easy to switch things around. They're structured with the group block. They use columns inside of that, so it's easy to move the content from one side to the other. I didn't have any issues organizing that at all. The one big thing I ran into, which you'll see here, is that if you don't wrap your content or your blocks in a layout block, by default it's going to set it, if you align left, it's going to go all the way left. So the theme doesn't have a lot of spacing built into it. That's something that could probably be cleaned up so it doesn't look really weird when you make the switch, because everything right away was kind of spread out a little too much. So if it's in the layout block, it's centered nicely and kind of optimized for mobile. If it's not a layout block and it's kind of defaulting to the edge, you end up with weird things that are there. So you need to have everything in a layout block and kind of mess with your spacing and padding that way. That's an easy fix they can do in an update to the theme. I updated kind of my background page so it's less like a resume and has, again, these kind of portfolio style patterns in there, and I played with some of those things. So I'm doing the black and white alternating like Frost has in it, which is cool. I'm using that teal color as an accent, which kind of shows through in multiple places. And the nice thing about that is when I change the style, everything will change with it. So this overlay color will change with it. The borders will change with it. It's pretty slick overall. The patterns are good, like I said. The style variations are nice, so it was pretty easy to pull together. I'd like to see more patterns in the future for different use cases. I'd like to see maybe some style variations that are less uniform, like less about changing the color and more about changing the look and feel of the site. But it's a really easy theme to work with. You can do pretty much everything you want from within the editor anyway. So if you're looking for a WordPress theme to kind of build a basic site that kind of has a clean aesthetic and you can want to do some kind of color accents to it, this is a great starting point. I think from a builder standpoint, it's not so opinionated that it would be hard to change anything about it. So you want to change your fonts, you want to change your spacing rules, you want to change everything like that. Like, it's a really good starting point for a new site. Even if you totally change the aesthetic afterwards, like, it's a really good building block to get a new site going.